but actually I had 4 different dreams last night or this morning, and so there's 4 different parts. The one most vivid that I remember was this being in a, let's say in the room or a house, and not this exact same house I am, but something like that. And I had an eagle, very big eagle, in the room, and it was kind of like it was on my head, that is over me, or over the room in a way, because it was bigger. And this eagle was actually, it was like I was pulling a canopy over where I was, and the canopy, and the eagle was on top of or outside, above my head, more or less, above where I was, but over the canopy. That's what I call it, because I don't know what else to call it. In any case, so then I decided, or thought, that I was going to let the eagle get out of the room and out of the window, open the window for it to go. It was really almost about the size of the window. I mean, it was, generally speaking, I thought, it could get out the window, so I recognized that reference in the size, but it was, all I know is that I had opened the window and it did not leave. I don't recall it leaving, and so I was recognizing this because, or had this experience because I had been watching the 3rd presidential candidate last night before I went to bed, giving a speech of about an hour's length about his foreign policy. His name is Kennedy. He was the boy, the uncle of the President John Kennedy, who was shot. And he's running for president currently. He's about 68, 9 years old, my generation. And he's giving very interesting points of view that are quite different from the 2 main candidates who had a debate recently and talked about nonsense. It was pitiful, really, and especially the president current, and he was apologizing afterwards for that and saying that yes, he recognized that he didn't messed up and all of that, but his calls for him to step down, and of course both these people representing the 2 parties are unwilling to step down and unwilling to stop and unwilling to give up, give in. It's really funny. You just aren't able, it's total funny business. So I thought that was, this is an interesting aspect because this person has much more, that is, the Kennedy person is named Robert, and he's speaks very well, and yes, he's literal, but he's at least pointing out the nonsense that that these policies are, and that there's well, he's also talking about the constitutional viewpoint. And I looked at this because the man is being genuine as I think he can be, and this debate went on because they wouldn't allow anybody else to be in the debate. It's got to be a Democrat or a Republican, and or these two men. And it's so obviously infiltrated with this domination viewpoint that's present and apparent to everybody in the country. So this is curious because eagle-eyed adept, let's say, or someone who's at least representing that might be able to at least get part of what's going on and see this, maybe even very clearly, as the eagle representates, to be able to do so. I think I'd share my thought just now that Jeremy speaks very well and is really giving a very clear, acutely presented, eagle-eyed, adapted ability to share it and or at least be able to adapt with all the references that he's receiving and share them extremely clearly. I'm not sure that I remember my dreams all that well, like this particular one, let's say, and or the other four. So I'm going to call them up and see what happens there. I do want to share about this context that the eagle represents in the solar universal zodiac, which I call what I've discovered as the larger picture zodiac, the universal picture, rather than just our local earthbound solar, what they call sun sign zodiac thing. And I've gone as beyond that reference to the universal one and presented the actual positions and that are related to our sun and the universe, our perspective from our position. And there's a whole field of constellations. Well, the eagle is one of them, and the star Altair is the eagle star, and it's at the cusp of Aquarius and at the end of Capricorn, which is where the sun position for this candidate Kennedy and actually another candidate who's now no longer running have their positions. And I also know that actually very famous Americans have their positions there. They're icons of America, including the Californian icon Kevin Costner, Betty White, who recently passed away at age 99, I believe, and the third one, Dolly Parton, the full-breasted country singer who has owned her own Dolly World, and she's got some concerns with keeping Dolly World afloat. And just same thing as California seems to be falling into the sea. And the Betty White, which would be that generation that she represented so purely and greatly during her lifetime, and who's passed away, I think it was 2 years ago. And so that's the connection point with all of that. Let's see. Here's where I wrote it down. Okay, the dream series also included a dream about being on the golf course. I think I was with my brother. I wrote down that we go out to play, and I was addressing the ball to demonstrate and to hit play, and for some reason I couldn't get it right. So I didn't hit any balls at that point. I kind of stopped and started several times. It would be like trying to share, not being composed enough to be able to do that. And so I noticed that I wasn't tuned in or tuning in. I have a certain method which is very succinct, but very simple. And all it is really is to have the proper focus and then just do it. And that's what I was thinking of there, to try and play, but it seems I am, instead of hitting at that point or going out following the balls around as golfers do, I went back to the clubhouse, and then I was being observed in that area, and I had this idea of going to a real clubhouse recently to present what I was doing with the numbers. And so that was part of this dream referencing, and that's how these things come about and get related, and we observe them as we're in the dream, or in this case I was definitely vividly dreaming and observing myself at the same time. And so I observed myself saying I was in the clubhouse, and then I was out again, observed by others, and maybe they had followed me outside, and I was also recognizing at that time that I was listening or being observed, or that is referencing Rebizar and Paul. And Rebizar in particular, I think, and that they had showed me this secret method, which is to just do it, and to recognize your position, and to be with it. Because if I do that when I'm golfing, I can play perfectly, or hit really great balls and shots without any effort hardly at all. And that is kind of the secret. It's like you're recognizing yourself invisibly, being with it and letting it just do it. It's almost external from that body part that I was expressing. That is, the physical body and doing it. It almost feels like I'm using this whole body, and that's what I call it, to operate and to allow it to do whatever it's attempting to do. And I call this, without wanting to reference the Christ within, or the Chi, or the Chi, or because Christ and Chi, CHICIRIST, some saying that is that wholeness, and there's just words that people have used through the years to express that. They're just references. There isn't any real reference that we can use. Today, just before the call here, we were visited by some Jehovah's Witnesses, and I talked with them, and I did reference these things a little bit, not quite like this at all, but I'm referencing now that this experience of meeting these two older women, and I know how they do their contacting, and they come out and they say, we need to share this because you all, what is your belief in what you think the kingdom of heaven is, and this real thing. At least that's not how they say it, but I was referencing those things, and I know that that's what they do because they feel that the people really need this, and they need to recognize the Word, the living Word, and the Bible, and so forth, is how they do it. But of course, again, it's not the real thing, which is definitely what I said to them, in some form, more gently and nicely. I think I wasn't being insulted. Okay, so that was that experience and that part of the dream. And then there was also a part with the rabbits in I was going through clothes, and I've been clearing out clothes and stuff, and I'd say that's referenced there. And I was also, there was a bin, so to speak, that I was going to place a rabbit in, or a shelter box, small, basically speaking, not too large, that is. Maybe a top of a box that was a shelter, and the rabbit would be placed in. I was building it, or it was built, and there I saw it there, and then I was placing the rabbit in it, and I was giving it fluid to drink, but I was giving it with a bottle that had leakage, so it was a little bit messy, and I was thinking about using a straw, let's say, like thing, to feed the rabbit. And I did notice that there was rabbits out in our yard recently. We've got a lot of green and a lot of rabbit food, grass and everything else. And I had a confrontation with the rabbit when I was outside yesterday, in that I stood there and the rabbit was there, and I didn't want to move because I didn't want it to move off. But it was looking at me, and I was looking at it directly. It was about 30 yards away, and it had stopped moving because I had just come out the door, and there I was with him. And that was a funny little thing. But I try and respect the animals and be quiet when they're out there, and like that. I don't want them to be afraid or to run away because of their concern. But yes, all of them are naturally concerned with humans because of what we've done. And I recognize that, and I think that's somewhat of what the building the bin was, and the rabbit shelter, and this sanctuary, let's say, and I'm aware that I represent something that has been destructive, even if it, or at least, it's not necessarily pointing fingers at us. Everything we do is destructive, so it's kind of an association. They also have to get over their fears that we're of concern, just like I think the Jehovah's Witnesses have some concern about the recognition that the people are going to give what they're having to say, just as we have a concern about what people are going to think, and how we say it is related or reflective and referential, not necessarily worshipful, and appearing genuine, even if it is as much as we can. So that was that part. And then the final one was about I was not going to the movie theater, but I was at a theater. It was on the street, let's say, at a theater entrance, and I had then gone inside, and I forgot the reference that led me to the theater. It might have had something just flashed on about Star Wars, maybe going to a matinee type of thing, a movie like that, or Star Trek. And in any case, when I went into theater, they had cleaners and detergents for sale, which is unusual. And we were talking about this subject of things for sale, things we can get, food, etc. And so I saw the cleaners and detergents in the theater, and then thought about, what does that mean? It was meaning about cleaning up one's act and doing things. That's part of it, but also had something to do with allowing other things to be available than, especially the crappy popcorn in the movie theaters, or foods of that kind, and processed foods, etc. But cleaners and detergents are also a representation of processed chemicals used for cleaning, and probably not good to use as well. We like to use baking soda. You can use that for teeth, and use tea tree oil on teeth also, and hydrogen peroxide. But the commercial detergents and so forth is a different flavor, and I do know that the popcorn is the very worst in the movie theaters, food that probably the very worst that anyone can eat. As a processed food, it's incredibly poison and bad, and that was what was served to everybody in the 60s, let's say, naturally. And yes, the chemicals and detergents and all of the other poisoned delivery there was, and also was that the thought about the pots and pans that took them 30 years or more to actually come out with the truth about it, the pans, cooking pans, and that about the name of the chemical process there. There's a movie that came out 30 years more later, which is very recently, with what's his name? We spoke about this earlier, and that revealed the truth about the cooking pan material that was revealed or started to be revealed around the year 2000, 1999. And go back to Betty White as a symbol name there, because she represented the pure and the good. At the same time, she became later a comedian of jokes and humor that was sex humor and funny business of that kind. She was very good at it, showing this innocence. And her Golden Girls is the name of her character. Or she was one of the 4 Golden Girls, that is, and she was great playing an innocent from Minnesota who had been, all of her jokes in the show were about her upbringing and lifestyle, family and friends and social in Minnesota, which is also very humorous because it's representing the Queen and the so-called Manta leader of Eckankar, and who live in Minnesota, but evidently have a winter home in the South somewhere. And all that kind of lifestyle representation, and instead of, so all the purity, of course, and everything is lost. It's is being revealed, or the impurity, and that's what we're in. So the last part of the story, which I'm surprised I got to go on so long with, was very quickly, like in bulk, this idea that how the stores are working now is that Amazon is using the stores to deliver all the door-to-door food and supplies, and they're making huge amounts of money delivering the food through Amazon's delivery system and the post, using the post system as well. And this is what's going on now. And so the prices are very high, and Amazon can get better prices by using the delivery system, so they're able to get all the market. And Walmart is also infiltrated totally with this, and they're in cahoots with all the big companies that are making these products, like General Foods and Monsanto, and includes the medicines. And this whole delivery system in place now, which would be could be done in a whole different way, which would be much better for everyone, and would actually allow for the purchasing the real foods at the better prices. Um, that would be the non-GMO and so forth and so on, all of that. And I'm not going to say they're all real foods either, but I am going to say it would be better. And the idea was giving giving the store supplies, which has our items that we want, and we pick them up at the store. By pickup, once a month, let's say, something similar to what I understand that Val does, is go to the store once a month and get the supplies. But the store, in this sense, would be a service in that they were receiving the orders from everyone directly, so they could cut out these corporate middlemen and the Amazon monopoly and the big foods suppliers who are producing the processed foods and GMO, using all the water and all of the rest of and the seeds. And now I've heard that they're cutting it off in California. That is, the farmers in Oregon and other states, they're not allowing the farmers to get the water, and they're shutting down the small farms, the big farms being supplied by the corporate monopoly and supported by. This is a super big issue. So that's what's coming up here. That's created the presidential candidate, who's an environmental lawyer named Kennedy. And that's his field. And he also loves animals and made some recent videos about, because he was accused of eating dog food, or rather eating dogs for food. And so he said, oh, I made this video to show I love the animals and I'm not eating dogs and I'm not eating dog food. That's what I noticed in the media there, that was presented to me also, by my referential here. And so that's how this all came about, and how this whole dream sequence followed forth, and yeah, got it.